Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Colleen and today I'm going to be showing you how to make some cards just using very simple doodles. Quite often we are making things that we like to create just using doodles, but we don't actually ever do anything with our doodles, and today let's just take that a step further. So to begin with, I just would like to show you what I'm going to be using. I've just got some plain cardstock which I have folded. I have a piece of white paper which I have just outlined with a black pen. I just simply feel that the outline will ultimately just give a bit of a border to what I'm going to do with, and just a regular black ballpoint pen, or as you might know it where you live, a biro. So just to begin with, I'm going to show you a very simple dandelion. Now for those of you that have never done drawing before or are intimidated, there's nothing to this, just to let your imagination go. So I'm just going to start with drawing a line, very simply, a very sketchy line, and from that I'm going to use a little center point, and I'm just going to draw a whole lot of lines random from that center point. This will be the very core of my dandelion. So I'm just taking these lines, and as you can see, they are not particularly lovely looking lines, but you'll see what develops from something as simple as this as we go along. Now this is the first layer of the design, and onto the end of these little lines that I've drawn, I'm just going to put a very light dot. Don't try and make it a big dark dot, because that will be very heavy. Remember, a dandelion is quite a nice light airy flower, so you just want to make sure that you've actually got very small little dots on the end of this. And at this stage your design is going to look a little bit sparse, so I'm just going to show you what to do as the next step once we have done this. You can see this is not taking much time at all. So again, now moving on to layer 2 of this design, again starting with this middle point here, I'm going to create some lines that are slightly shorter so that we can actually work with that. You can vary the pressure that you put on your pen, so you'll get some darker lines and some lighter ones. And now with our second layer that we've done, I'm going to go back in again with my ballpoint pen, and I'm just going to put dots on the lines that I've done. Excuse me. Okay, and then we're going to do the third layer the same, starting with the center point and just doing some smaller dots. Very random. You can see it's not a beautiful drawn design, just free flowing. And put some more dots on there. Right, now at this particular point you might say, well, this doesn't look like much at all, but if you have a few materials lying around your home, you can quite easily make this into something beautiful. So with my card here, I can take this, which is double-sided tape. It's very thin. It's like sellotape, which you usually bind your parcels up with, but it's sticky on both sides. So I could take this and just use a few little pieces to actually put on the back of this, that I would then be able to secure my card onto the main birthday card or greeting card that I want to make. So we just need a few pieces of this, cut very easily with a pair of scissors. And if I were to just simply take this plain little design that I've done and put it onto a piece of card, whether it's a white piece of card, or in this case I've chosen a brown piece of recycled card, you can see already that it actually is starting to look like something. But I could take this one step further. So I'm just going to move this out of sight and show you something that I've done earlier. I've taken my design here and I've mounted this onto some dark card, just using my double-sided tape. I had a little sticker which says happy birthday, so I've added that to it. And you will see onto the back of my dark mount, I have already placed my double-sided tape. I don't like it when the cards, when you stick card down and it starts to gape on the side, so you'll see that I've been fairly generous in making sure that there's not going to be any area where the card could bulge up. Now you might say to me, I don't know how to make cards, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to design something. So we've started off basically here with something that was a really messy design that didn't look too much like anything, just a whole lot of random lines. We've then gone and stuck it onto a piece of dark card, and now the question is what to do with this dark card and how to position it. So if I was to take this piece of card that I have now and just slide it down to the one side of the card, giving it about an even spacing along here, that's one way of doing it. Or I could move it to this side if I wanted to perhaps write somebody's name here, that would also be okay. Or if you find that when you are making things that your cutting is not very accurate and you're worried that people will maybe notice that you haven't cut a line straight, then you can also just slightly off-center your card like that. I've made sure that that point and that point are in contact. You could bring this down to the side, but whatever you choose to do, it's very easy to stick. So for me, I'm not good with having elegant fingernails because I work with crafts all the time. I've got paints and glues and all sorts of things on my hands, so I actually find I don't often have very long fingernails, but this is just a craft knife, and I just use the edge of the blade of the craft knife just to flick the end of the double-sided tape. You'll be able to see that it's a very thin, transparent film, and it peels off quite quickly. So I'm just removing this waxy paper, and we'll very soon have this stuck down. So this is just a simple, easy way that you can actually take a doodle that wasn't going to be used for any particular purpose and make it into a greeting card. Perhaps you've got a book of doodles somewhere, or you've never tried drawing, and doodles are a fantastic way to actually get started. Because nothing is right and nothing is wrong. I'm going to offset my card a little bit to the one side, and I'm just gently positioning it, run my finger around the edges, and voila, there you have it, one card done. Now, to show you a second technique with your doodles, I've got another piece of rectangular card here, and what I'm going to do with this one is I'm again going to start just drawing some random lines. They don't have to be straight, they can crisscross each other, you can do whatever you like. I try to get them to start more or less from the center point so that the stems don't look terribly messy. Okay, odd numbers always seem to be more pleasing to the eye than even numbers. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe I'll just add another 2 here just to fill up a bit of space. Simply to take these lines that I have now, I'm going to draw a little curve on either side at the end of each of these. Okay, looking a bit like a leaf, but you'll see we'll have some fun with this. So at the end of each one of these little stems that I've drawn, I'm drawing this semicircle. This is a little bit stylized at this point, but it does give you confidence that you can make something beautiful without having been to art school. Okay, so my next thing that I'm going to do is that I don't want these to look like traditional leaves, so I'm going to use a little dot on the end of them. And remember that when you are doing any kind of drawing, it's all about looking at things, and in nature, nothing is ever very perfect. There's always been a little caterpillar or something that's managed to get into the leaf and actually start to eat it up. So I'm using this opportunity now to just draw various little patterns inside each of these shapes I've made. So it's not realistic looking, and we're not going to get any points and things for maybe not doing something that you feel is very, very creative. I might decide that I want to actually just draw some very basic lines here, like a traditional leaf. That's also fine. And you can simply just add in as much detail as you like. I might decide here that I'm going to do some circles. And inside these circles, I could put a few little dots in alternative ones. So that actually just creates a little bit of interest as I'm working along. I could do scallops, very simple to do. And this in-between space here, I could fill in. So where we've got spaces filled in, we call that our positive spaces, and the empty spaces are our negative spaces. But you can see by adding those in that it actually just creates a little bit of depth to your design. You might decide that you want to do something slightly more geometric. Remember, I'm just saying to you, you don't have to have been an artist to be able to do this. Simply just use some basic shapes to get you started. The more you practice, the more it will actually become a fun exercise, and you will find that your creativity is stretched. You'll start to look at lines and shapes outside and start to bring them into what you are actually doing. Now I'm going to show you that if I was to take this one particular line and just darken it a little bit by adding a little bit to the one side, I can actually then create a little bit of depth. So instead of having a leaf that I look at that's facing just flat onto me, I can create a leaf that's actually looking as though it's slightly curled. Okay? No right and no wrong. You are just having fun with your plain pen and with your piece of paper. Okay, so just quickly filling in some of the designs here. I'm actually making sure that I have enough interest in my work. It doesn't have to be symmetrical, so in other words, you don't have to have the same design on both sides of your leaf. You could have them different. And I'm actually now just going to go back into some of the designs that I've done and fill in. So at this stage, there's not an awful lot of contrast. By that I mean there's not a lot of light and a lot of dark. So I'm going to maybe just accentuate some of the lines here, perhaps go over the outline and the center line just to create a little bit of depth. There's nothing to stop you from going outside your design, as I've just done there, and then perhaps shading it in a little bit to give it a bit more of a border. And you could even add a few little marks on the outside of that to create some sort of a design. So you can see very easily that you can play nicely with designs. So I'm just going to set that one aside for now and just show you once again that if you were to take your design and you were to perhaps mount it onto something like a piece of card here, which has got colored, I've got sticky double-sided tape at the back, and I could stick that down and make a very, very nice little card with just a bit of doodling that I had done previously. So let's get this stuck down quickly. And as I say that I have actually just used double-sided tape. You can see I was doing one earlier and I wasn't happy with it, so I just turned the card over. But that's just also a way of knowing that it doesn't matter. Things, if they're not right and you don't like it, move on. It's more about the experience and the fun of actually enjoying the experience than the end result. But it can be that you can use these things just to create something special. So without measuring anything, I've just stuck it down, and I'm now just taking my double-sided tape off using my craft knife just to help me get the ends up. Oopsie. And this will be stuck down again onto a piece of recycled card. And then I'm going to show you one or two more things that you can do. All right, so this one I'm going to center because everything is a little bit off-centered here. Great. Now, having done my cards like that, I can then, if I would prefer to do something a little more, I could take a colored pencil crown and just simply add in ever such soft, without pressing too hard, just a little bit of color into my work. And as you can see, the lines aren't necessarily 100% over the ones that I have previously done in the black pen, but they are adding just a little bit of oomph to that particular design. So how hard was that to do? Really, you can have a lot of fun with very, very minimal effort at all. If I was to carry on using my green, that here I could actually then take any of these leaves and just simply start adding a bit of color to them. Because this is such an abstract leaf design that I've done here, I might like to choose a few other colors just to add in. And as you can see, by adding in a few colors here, I'm able to then start to create something that's a bit more of interest. A nice thing to do as a family as well, because you can actually get your kids involved. And if you are sitting at home over a weekend or it's cold and wet outside, it's a nice way to say, come, let's make some cards for future events when we need them. Birthdays coming up, Christmas, you could decide what the occasion may be. but very simply just using a few simple colors just to create designs that are easy to make with your doodles. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little bit of color into some of the negative spaces. Those are the spaces that didn't have shading. And you can play nicely with your colors here because we mostly do have nice colored boxes of crayons, and we can see what we want to use. So let's just add some pink here. I'm not going to go and labor this too much because I'm sure you don't want to watch me coloring this in from start to finish. Okay, in colors you can put opposite colors next to each other so that they pop nicely. Yellows and purples work well together, and we could add in a little bit of red, which is a nice strong color. See, a nice strong color. Fill in some spaces. Basic tools that you have in your home. If you've got any school kids at home, you might find that there's a lot of these colored pencils in their drawers, and you can go off. So 2 very easy cards that you can make just with doodles, a little bit of spare card, and a little bit of time on your hand. I hope you've enjoyed this and have fun. I will be posting some more doodle cards showing you how to make roses and some daisies next, and those you'll be able to do quite easily in your home. So there we go. Simple cards made with doodles.